Mary Ferguson Reid, Intro, Part 3. The time between my 7th and 13th year was just as perfect as the time before. I took part in organized baseball and hockey, and my days were filled with family and friends, and one good thing after another. I loved my life, and was completely involved in just being me. My physical growth was rapid from age 11 to 13, but I didn't pay much attention to it. I was just living my life. Then everything changed. It all started innocently enough with a few words from my brother. "You could probably start wearing a bra if you wanted to," he said. After that, I became more self-conscious about my body. As I entered my teens, I realized I had a problem. I had been born male child to my parents, and quite naturally expected that one day I would be a man. But instead of going through male puberty like all my buddies, my life took an unusual twist. I experienced an aspect of female puberty. I developed breasts. Almost overnight, I found myself immersed in a deep psychological trauma. I began to hide my form and my embarrassment, but inside I felt like I had stepped off the edge of a cliff. I was falling and falling and falling. Joy was now a distant memory, and the future held nothing for me but suffering and humiliation. Why had this happened to me? I was a good person. I was polite and mannerly. I was obedient and respectful. I never even said a bad word. It just didn't make any sense to me. I didn't know why this had happened, but I began to fear the humiliation that would be mine if the truth of my physical body were known. I didn't know what to do. I just kept it to myself and hid my body as best I could. For 2 years, my life became more and more miserable. I was so embarrassed by my physical body. It was not only humiliating, it was worthless. There was no reason for it, and no place in this world for what I had become. I remember walking home from school one day behind 2 of my friends, a boy and a girl, who were holding hands as they walked. I thought to myself, with a little sarcasm aimed at God, "Put them together and you get me." I didn't know then I was skimming the edge of the very purpose for life on earth. It was around this time I had a very unusual but memorable dream. In the dream, I was walking home from school with my books sandwiched between my hip and my right hand. I was walking on the left side of the road and following my regular route home. As I approached the tracks, a railway crossing not far from my home, there was a white elephant coming across the tracks from the other side. We were moving in opposite directions and on different sides of the road, but when we were parallel to each other, the elephant veered to his right, crossed the road, and ended up right behind me. The white elephant was now following me as I walked over the tracks. Oh, great, I thought. What now? In my 15th year, I realized that male puberty had not happened, and it looked like it never would. I was both, and I was neither. I wondered why God would even bother making such a worthless physical form, and why, after being such a good child, this was happening to me. I became angry with God. "You should at least let me in on the joke, God. Is this what I get for being a good person?" The sarcasm would eventually dissolve into despair as I envisioned the life that lay before me. I sank lower and lower every day. I had been such a good person, and now my life was over. All that was left for me was shame and humiliation and misery. In my weakest moment, I gave it back. "No thanks, God. I have no use for it. It's all yours."